What a show Money in the Bank was. There was a lot of twists and turns in this PLE. Some people getting screwed over, some people showing out, some people finally being able to have their moments. And I just want to talk to you guys about these moments and review the 2024 Money in the Bank. Now, quickly before we review Money in the Bank, if you guys enjoy professional wrestling content, especially the WWE, make sure you guys subscribe for future videos and turn on notifications so you get notified anytime I upload. With that being said, let's talk about the 2024 Money in the Bank. Now, the first match of the night was the men's Money in the Bank, which I believe set us up to have a much better idea on who was going to win this match. But let's talk about the match itself. We saw a lot of people have what I'd like to call, your like coming out party. You're like kind of like your showcase. And I believe there was 3 people that completely stood out in this match when moments they had that really felt like they were spotlighted, even though they didn't end up winning this. So I'm going to kind of spoil that one of these 3 guys do not win, but 3 of these guys, and I'm talking about Andrade, Chad Gable, and Carmelo Hayes. The spots that they put on these matches were absolutely amazing. There was like a double reverse Spanish fly that Melo and Andrade hit. There was an insane amount of German suplexes that Chad Gable hit. There was a spot where Chad Gable was hanging off the briefcase that was absolutely awesome. There was just so many different times where Andrade and Carmelo just felt like they were the spotlights of the match. And I feel it's awesome for those two because we've been saying for weeks that Andrade is not really getting the love he deserves and being put in matches to really succeed. And it's great that he was able to have it in this match because most of the moments that I believe will be going viral from the men's Money in the Bank will be either from Chad Gable, from Andrade, or from Carmelo Hayes. That leaves us 3 guys that were the 3 fan favorites to win this match. We had LA Knight, Jey Uso, and Drew McIntyre. Now, there was a couple cool spots where Jey Uso and LA Knight had like the yeah and the yeet battle off on top of the ladder. There was a couple cool spots where we thought they were going to start teaming against everybody else. But unfortunately, neither of those 2 guys were able to win as Drew McIntyre stopped Jey Uso from climbing to the top of that ladder and grabbing that briefcase. And he became Mr. Money in the Bank. And little foreshadowing, he promised us on Monday Night Raw that he would be the one to cash in. So then we come to Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. And I'm going to make this one pretty quick on this review. I think we really need to stop having this gimmick for Sami Zayn be this whole like underdog gimmick because they put him in there with one of the biggest freaks and specimens in the world. And they kind of felt like throughout this match, they were like nerfing Braun Breaker. Like when I was watching with everyone on Twitch for the watch along, we all were kind of agreeing that it did not feel like Braun Breaker was this irresistible force that Sami Zayn was going up against, but more of just like another opponent that Sami Zayn is facing on like a Monday Night Raw. Like they made Braun Breaker feel just like a Chad Gable or someone that's like just there in the mid card competing for a mid card title rather than being like the next monster figure in the WWE. So like when ultimately there was kind of an underwhelming finish to the match, it didn't really feel like Sami Zayn like overcame some crazy odds because it never felt like he was completely out of this match or overwhelmed or getting like, like a Gunther style type match. And I really don't think they did a good enough job of really building up Braun Breaker in this match to be a monster figure. Overall, I was kind of upset with that alone. I really wish we had an interference in this match so both guys didn't really lose any stock. But sadly, I don't think anyone gained anything. And both of them kind of like probably lost a little bit of stock because once he beat Braun Breaker the way he did, I don't think that Sami Zayn can be looked at as an underdog ever again. Like you can't say that anyone he faces in the mid card, he is the underdog. But at the same time, we can't really look at Braun Breaker right now as like an irresistible force when he just lost to Sami Zayn in an Intercontinental Championship match. This was my first dud match of the night. Next up, let's talk about the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Damian Priest. Now, before this match started, Damian Priest made sure to tell Judgment Day that he doesn't want any of them to come help him no matter what. Whether there's a catch-in, whether it looks like he's in trouble, he wants to do it alone. And as he's walking away, Finn Balor gave him a look and was like, "Whatever you say, boss." AKA he's going to make sure they don't come out to help him. If I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, this match cooked. This match was absolutely awesome between the two guys. We felt like a 2015 Seth Rollins was out there. He was definitely much slower, and it's pretty obvious that he came back from injury way too fast. They exchanged a lot of their signatures. They exchanged a lot of moves that, you felt like could kind of end the match. And the whole entire time, they kept looking out towards the ramp and were kept saying, Drew, come out here. Like, we know you said you're going to come out here. Come out here, come out here. And eventually we got into a position where Seth Rollins hit a finisher and we thought the match is going to be over. And the ref counts 1, 2, 3. But the match wasn't over. The referee seemed to just get up and act like he didn't count to 3. And the match continued. And all of a sudden, 3 seconds later, boom, Drew McIntyre's music hit. Now, what I think ended up happening in this botch situation was I think that Drew McIntyre's music was supposed to hit at 2, and production kind of messed it up a little bit. So I think just for that alone, they just kind of acted like referee discretion, as Triple H said in the press conference afterwards. So Drew McIntyre comes out, he cashes in, he ends up, hitting a couple of finishers, and then he ends up finally hitting a Claymore on Damian Priest, to which 2 seconds later the crowd erupts because CM Punk came in and started attacking Drew McIntyre. He starts beating him up completely, starts hitting him with a chair, starts literally decimating him. Then he grabs the World Heavyweight Championship, attacks Drew McIntyre with the Heavyweight Championship. Then you get the South of Heaven, the match is over, and still your World Heavyweight Champion, Damian Priest. So as Damian Priest is walking out and up that ramp, you guys got to remember, 2 people got screwed over in that situation. Seth Rollins got screwed over because now Seth Rollins can no longer challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship as long as Damian Priest is champion. And Drew McIntyre literally just wasted his cash-in for Money in the Bank. So now both of them are going to be angry at CM Punk, which I believe is actually going to set us up for a triple threat match, potentially at SummerSlam, potentially at Bad Blood, maybe in a Hell in a Cell, but we'll see what ends up happening with that feud. I thought the match cooked. I do think the botch is what everyone's going to talk about, and it kind of sucks for Damian Priest. I just think that he was literally in a position where he was like, all right, the music's going to hit, I'm not going to kick out, when that would have made the moment cooler, and it kind of ruined the whole entire moment. Next up, we have the women's Money in the Bank. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is the match of the night. This match was phenomenal. Every single woman in this match had a spot that was beautiful. Every single woman in this match showed out. Every single woman in this match felt like they could win the match at any moment. And I think that's the best part about these type of matches and overall the Money in the Bank. And I don't know if the men kind of just like toned it down a little bit so the women can get their spotlight. But my God, was this like, if I had to call any match a 5-star tonight, this was the 5-star match. Whether it was the brutality, whether it was the fact that they had like 30 different spots of women going through ladders. They had Zoe Stark one-hand powerbomb Lyra through a ladder. They had Tiffany Stratton pin Io Sky against the turnbuckle with the ladder. Then she walks up the ladder, stands on top of the turnbuckle, and does a swanton bomb on the rest of the women outside. Whether Lyra Valkyria tried climbing the ladder, Io Sky grabs her and pulls her down and starts stomping her. When I tell you guys, she was stomping her out to the point where I thought she literally ended her. Lyra literally does an Undertaker and gets up and freaking German suplexes her off the ladder. Then you had Io Sky power slam Zoe Stark off the top of the ladder onto another ladder that folded the both of them, which then put us in a situation where Chelsea Green was climbing the ladder and Tiffany Stratton pushes her off the ladder onto 2 tables on the outside. And Tiffany Stratton puts her hand up, grabs the Money in the Bank, and we have our new Mrs. Money in the Bank. And I am so happy because the storylines we're going to get with her are going to be absolutely phenomenal. Which then brings us on to the main event of the evening. We have the Bloodline, which this was the major discussion because we had no idea if they were going to let Jacob Fatu into Canada. If you guys didn't know, Jacob Fatu has a felony gun charge. I don't remember if it was a robbery or whatever, but he has a felony gun charge. And most of the time in that situation, you cannot cross the border. But they let him across the border because WWE pulls their strings, and they were cooking. The Bloodline went in with Tama Tonga, Solo Sikoa, and Jacob Fatu, with Tonga Loa as kind of like the manager on the outside. Now, as we know, Kevin Owens is from Canada, and he gave us some really sad news on SmackDown that his mom was in the hospital. So he clearly was coming into this match with a very heavy heart. Then you had Cody Rhodes and you had Randy Orton. I would say the most memorable moments to start the match was realistically when Jacob Fatu and Randy Orton went face to face, and Randy Orton hits Jacob Fatu with a vintage Orton, and Jacob completely no-sells it, gets up, and as Randy does his little over-the-shoulder snake apex predator, he looks up to Jacob Fatu being there, and Jacob Fatu just Samoan slams him. So at this point, the match starts speeding up. We've seen almost every single person in the match. We start seeing the match get a little funky, and at some point, the referee ends up getting knocked out. So at this point, Solo Sikoa is in the ring, and he gets hit by every single person's finishers. Between Randy Orton hitting an RKO, you get a stunner from Kevin Owens, you get a crossroads from Cody Rhodes. So then the Avengers, I like to call them, that's the team of Cody, KO, and Randy, try to bring Solo outside, and they want to shield powerbomb him through the table. To which Jacob Fatu comes in and stops all three of them, but Kevin Owens, in a bit of rage, somehow gets the energy to beat up Jacob Fatu, and he does a splash on the table through Fatu, and all the men are basically knocked out. Cody Rhodes gets back in the ring. It looks like him and Solo are going to be one-on-one in the ring. He hits one crossroads, he hits two crossroads, and then Jacob Fatu gets in the ring. Jacob Fatu ends up destroying Cody Rhodes. He ends up doing some fancy off the top rope stuff on him. So then he's holding Cody Rhodes up, to which Solo Sikoa spikes him. Jacob throws in the referee, and we get 1, 2, 3. Solo Sikoa has pinned the undisputed WWE champion of the world. Now, it's pretty obvious in my eyes, as I said in my predictions for this video, that the only way we would have true credibility for Solo Sikoa and him having a potential match with Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam for the title is if he was the man to pin him, which is the way they went with it, and I think it was the right call to do it. Overall, I thought the match was pretty good. I don't think it was spectacular or anything. I don't think it's going to be one of those matches where we talk about forever, outside of the fact that Solo ends up getting a win over Cody, something that he is now going to be pushing on everyone, being like, I did something that Roman wasn't able to do. I was the man that was able to pin Cody Rhodes while, Roman ended up losing to him the title at WrestleMania. Now, after the show was over, you had Drew McIntyre go on a crazy fit of rage at the post-show, talking about how he's going to, destroy CM Punk. He knows where he lives. He attacked the referees. He ended up attacking Adam Pearce. And the only person that could stop him was Wade Barrett, that ended up, throwing him out of the post-show. Now, earlier in the night, John Cena had made a major announcement, and John Cena had announced that he is going to retire. And this was a very sad moment for me. I'll be honest, I actually teared up while this was happening, as John Cena is my GOAT. I think John Cena is the greatest of all time. John Cena is not my favorite wrestler of all time, but he is the GOAT. He is someone that I've looked up to. He is one of the people that made me fall in love with wrestling and stay in love with wrestling as a teenager, as an adult. He was the face of the Ruthless Aggression era, and that is the era that I grew up with wrestling. He is the person that when I think of WWE, I think of John Cena. When I think of the person that, represents the WWE and what WWE has become, it is John Cena. And the fact that he announced his retirement and he said that he only has all of 2025 left, I'm super excited to see what he does. In the press conference, he kind of alluded to he wants a shot at getting a 17th championship, which, Triple H, whatever you have to do, let him break the record. I don't care if it's for one night and then he vacates the title. Whatever it takes, let John Cena break that record. I will be the happiest person in the world. Now, let's talk about the good and the bad that comes out of Money in the Bank, and where I think a lot of this leads us to when it comes to the future of the show. Now, I think it's pretty obvious. We don't really need to talk about the main event. We know that they're leading to Solo Sikoa against Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. I think it's a very obvious for the championship match. But I also think they're setting us up to see Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga potentially go for the tag titles. And I can see a big feud between them and Team RKO, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. But that's obviously all like fantasy booking. I am very excited to see the storyline that I thought is the reason why Tiffy Time won the Money in the Bank. And that's going to be the storyline that we get between her new best friend, Nia Jax, and her, because we know Nia Jax is going to be facing Bayley at SummerSlam. And I believe that actually Nia Jax is going to win that match. Now, are we going to have a situation where Nia Jax is walking around with the title and Tiffy Time has the Money in the Bank and they're like best friends, but Nia Jax is still always worried about a cash in? Or does Tiffy Time cash in on that match? I think that's going to be awesome cinema for us. I think it's going to be very awesome for us to really watch and keep up with for, you know, the rest of the year. And I'm super excited to see where they go with that. And I'm going to buy myself a Tiffany Stratton Money in the Bank briefcase because I know it's going to be absolutely fire. Now, the men's Money in the Bank was cashed in already, so that whole storyline's kind of like, you know, you don't have to worry about for that for the rest of the year. But I do like that they inserted CM Punk with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre together, because I think all three of them in a triangle makes a much better storyline. Now, I would really love to see them in a Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood, but I don't know if the feud makes it that long. And lastly, the whole Intercontinental title situation, I think, got a little weird with how that match ended. I do think it would have been much better if they had Sheamus get involved or Kaiser get involved, so that we can build on these guys working together. Because if Sami Zayn really won definitively how he won, Braun Breaker doesn't really have a claim to getting a rematch unless he just attacks Sami Zayn, which at that point, it kind of just like, it makes his character look a little weak. So I don't really know what they're going to go with that. When it comes to the show overall, everyone in my Twitch chat was complaining, saying it was one of the worst PLEs of the year. I thought it was a good enough PLE. I don't think it was anything that bad. I think it did good enough to extend storylines and give us some more to look forward to. I think when it comes to like the main event picture, we really now have a definitive on who's going to compete with Cody next, which is amazing. I think we also have a good situation between Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Drew. And I think we're also going to get a little bit build with the Bloodline, the Judgment Day now, with the whole Finn Balor and all that stuff acting all funny. So I am a little bit excited for that. But I want to know from you guys overall, what did you guys think of the show? Did you guys enjoy the show? Did you guys think it was a bad show? Do you think that any of the stuff was wrong? And with that being said, if you guys made it this far into the video, I appreciate you watching this far. If you guys have not hit that subscribe button, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Ring that bell for notifications. Hopefully you guys check out the future videos, which I hope you do. And I want to say I love each and every you guys for watching this far. Peace.